What's going on, everybody? I hope you're doing well. So, as I promised, this is my spoiler review for Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I know it's been over a month since my initial reaction video, but I wanted to finish reviewing all the previous installments first before sharing my spoiler thoughts on this film. So if you've seen my initial reaction video, you'd know that I enjoyed the movie, but I had a lot of issues with the pacing, the exposition, the self-serious tone, the overstuffed plot, and the runtime. And at the end of that video, I said that hopefully these things will be less of an issue when I see it again. So I saw the movie again just a few days ago, and I saw it again in IMAX, and while I still had a good time watching it, my main issues with the film remained pretty much the same. The first hour is really boring and quite messy, something that I never thought I would say about a Mission Impossible film. None of the previous installments have this problem, including Mission Impossible 2. You know, Mission Impossible 2 may be a lot of things, but being boring or being messy isn't one of them. The Final Reckoning has too much exposition, too many scenes in which characters talk about things that could happen and what they should and shouldn't do. There are too many supporting characters, most of whom we don't give two shits about, and I'm not just talking about those government official characters, I'm also talking about Palm Clementif's Paris and Greg Tarzan Davis's Dega. Aside from a couple of action sequences, these characters have very little to do, which is kind of baffling considering what McQuarrie was able to do with the last couple of these movies. In Rogue Nation, Fallout, and Dead Reckoning, every character had moments to shine. Every character had a role to play in the overall narrative. But in this film, a lot of these characters don't have moments to shine. Of the core members of this team, Grace is really the only one who gets to do some important stuff. I would argue that William Dunlow, that character from the first film, and his wife has more memorable scenes and moments than these main supporting players. Let's talk about Luther for a second. So Luther dies in this movie, and I don't like it. Now, I'm not against killing off an important character. Look what they did with Ilsa in Dead Reckoning. Her death was significant, it felt earned, it was a creatively bold decision, and it was quite emotional. But killing off Luther in this film feels more like a plot point than thoughtful send-off for this beloved character. His death feels so rushed and honestly kind of unnecessary. Now, I'm sure you've heard a lot of people talking about this, but Gabriel is a total fucking idiot in this film, and it doesn't make sense that he's a total fucking idiot. This is clearly not the same guy we saw in Dead Reckoning. At least in Dead Reckoning, he was more interesting. Like, he and Ethan crossed paths 30-something years ago, and they have history together, which this film never explains, so what the fuck? And even though he wasn't a great villain, he still had a presence, and Isai Morales I thought was great in that movie. But Gabriel in this film is a cartoon villain. His entire plan or scheme, whatever you want to call it, relies completely on chance. It relies on this assumption that Ethan would, one, say yes or at least would comply with his proposition/threat, and two, he would survive all these extraordinary circumstances and bring Podkova to a specific place at a specific time if something happens along the way. His plan wouldn't work. His incompetence is apparent in the scene where he traps Luther with a nuclear bomb that's big enough to destroy London. If Luther wasn't able to disarm it, everybody in London, including Ethan and Gabriel himself, would have been evaporated. And the way he dies is just so dumb. It also happens to be the funniest joke in the entire film. Speaking of jokes, this film is surprisingly humorless. Everything is dead serious and no one really cracks jokes, which is weird. I've always thought Mission Impossible movies have a good balance of action and humor, and even when things got serious, these movies never took themselves too seriously and always tried to have fun with the ridiculousness of the situation. The stakes in The Final Reckoning, however, are so fucking high, and it also resembles what's going on in the real world, and at times, I wasn't able to enjoy this purely as a fiction. I wanted to see the kind of playful back and forth that Ethan and Benji had in Ghost Protocol or Dead Reckoning.
Well, just, you know, Jump! Just jump? Yeah!
Which brings me to my biggest issue with The Final Reckoning, and that is this. We don't see this team working together in close proximity until the third act. One of the joys of Mission Impossible movies is seeing these highly intelligent characters working together to solve a problem. Teamwork is what makes Mission Impossible work. And even though Ethan is the one who does the showy stuff, the big stuff, his team is always working on things nearby. But that doesn't happen with The Final Reckoning. These characters work separately for the majority of the film. I agree that each storyline is exciting on its own, but it also loses what made these movies special in the first place. Having said all that, when the film focuses on the visual storytelling aspect and letting Tom Cruise do these insane stunts, it's pretty fucking amazing. The submarine sequence is so tense and so thrilling. I love the sound design, I love the claustrophobic feeling, and even though the logic and rules of physics go way out the window towards the end when he takes off the suit and swims half naked, that set piece is truly incredible. And then the biplane happens, and that is one of the greatest action set pieces ever made. It was really bad for my heart. And Tom Cruise is really fucking cool. His dedication to his craft is truly astonishing. He really does do anything and everything to entertain for the ones he holds close and for those he'll never meet. So overall, the first half of The Dead Reckoning is clunky and messy as fuck, but its second half is truly remarkable. And that really saves this film. I don't know if anybody's still watching this, but if you are, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.